Hello! Welcome to the 100th episode of Ask Me Monday. Can you believe it? Little did I know almost 3 years ago when I was trying out this little thing on beta called Facebook Live, would I be here 100 episodes later with all of you, many of whom have been with me from the very beginning, spending time with me weekly, learning how to knit, how to crochet, how to sew, getting business tips, talking about blogging, family, life, all of it. I am so grateful to have you as my community and to just be able to spend a little time with you on a weekly basis. I hope that you feel the love coming from me to you, and worldwide. We have people all over the world that tune in, and I love seeing you correspond with each other in the comments section. Please continue to do that and know that yes, this is virtual, but it's also your home. All right, so 100th episode. Y'all know how I like a theme, right? So we are all about the 100 today. A few things. First of all, this episode is brought to you by Knitter's Pride and Knit Pro. They are a huge support of me always, really, and they are supporting this episode and all episodes through the end of July. They also have provided prizes, 2 prize packs, each worth around $100 each. See what I did there? And don't worry, even though the focus of this episode is really going to be on knitting, I didn't leave the crocheters out. We've got a prize pack that is crochet hook set, a pink one, plus plus lace blockers for one prize pack, and then the marbles interchangeable set, circular, plus the double pointed needle circular set. I don't even have that one. Super jelly. So thrilled for you. So stay tuned to the end of the show when I tell you what you need to do to be eligible to win those prizes. Okay, so what else can we do that's thematic of 100? Well, first of all, let's get the first 100 people to tell us where they live and what they're knitting, crocheting, making, painting, building, attracting, whatever right now. But secondly, I thought I was going around. I was like keeping it 100, something about honesty. No, that doesn't really work. Centennial, like 100 tips. Well, we would be here all day long. That doesn't really work. So what I decided to do is I decided to look back at where we were in the knitting world 100 years ago. So there were a couple really cool things going on, and they kind of work with what our giveaways are, at least on the knit side. So 2 things. First of all, the patent for the first circular needles in the U.S., I'm not sure outside of the U.S., was actually filed in 1918. And I found a picture of it on the interwebs. So it says that it is by a man named Frank L. Sessions, and he patented this on November 26, 1918. So 100 years ago is when circulars were invented, at least that's what we know here in the U.S. So that's one really cool thing to celebrate our 100th episode. The second thing is that about 100 years ago, we were in the middle of World War I. And there was a huge, as there were many, for many wars, World War II had another really big campaign like this. But there was a campaign called Knit Your Bit. And it was really considered patriotic to be knitting and knitting for soldiers. And so what that meant could be scarves, it could be hats, it could be, I can't remember baklava. What are they called? Balaclavas? You'll tell me what they're called. Where it's just your face shows and it's the neck thing. But often what they were looking for is socks. So all of that brought me around to, you know what? It's about time that I pass along a little knowledge that was shared with me a good 15 years ago by pearl-mcfee. And I don't know that I'm doing it exactly the same because I don't remember actually how she did it, but I remember how awesome it was. A basic template, a recipe for knitting socks on any yarn, any weight yarn, any size. The formula is all the same so that you'll be able to balaclava. Thank you, Anne. I knew I had it. I was like, baklava? That is all wrong. So thank you. So I thought this would be a great time to really walk you through the steps of creating a sock. I'm only going to cover, because we have a limited amount of time here, I'm only going to cover the two things that were the most, I guess, intimidating for me when I started to learn, which is turning the heel and then grafting the toe. However, I have on my website, VickieHowell.com, and you can go there now. Most of the post is up. I'll post this video in it after we're done. Step-by-step breakdown, all 9 steps for how you can design your own socks using any weight yarn, corresponding needles, and for any size from infant to adult. All right, so we're going to focus on that, and you can get all of the actual written instructions there. The other reason that I wanted to do the socks is because double-pointed needles were actually the first needles around. And so since we're giving away circulars and double-pointed needles to stay in theme for our 100th episode, I thought we should put them into action. So I'm going to be using Knitter's Pride or Knit Pro, depending on where you are. And it's so great to see people from Finland and Hungary and the US and Canada. Oh, I hope that you can feel me giving you a big hug for being here. I appreciate it. Okay, so these are the Symphony Dreams needles, and I'm going to be using those today because that's what I have. This is what one of the colors, the size US 10s, 6 millimeters of marbles look like. The rest of the set, as Knitter's Pride always does, every size is a different color. But this is what I have to show you right now. So there's those, and then I had zings somewhere. Anyways, Knitter's Pride has all kinds of different sets to fit your every whim. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the little flip around. I want to show you one thing really quickly, though. I've had this for years. This is actually inspired by the World War II effort, but I love this little kit, the knit kit, and it was out, oh my goodness, it's been at least a decade. It's got serviceman socks, and I just keep it on my shelf. We're huge MASH fans, which I realized was the Korean War, but anything that sort of evokes that feeling in this house, we keep around. So I have this here with me, not necessarily because it has anything to do with 100 years ago, but it goes with the whole feel of this episode. All right, I am going to be working on a baby size sock because, frankly, I thought of this idea yesterday and only had so much time to get it together. But what I'll show you is the basics for any size sock. On my website, VickieHowell.com, I actually wrote out, I use it as an example, sizing for a medium men's size to go with sort of that soldier feel. But I give you all the information that you need to make the size that you want for friends, family, kids, mate, whatever. All right, I'm going to turn it around, and we're going to start with, first of all, actually, before I turn it around, again, this is a baby sock. I'm going to go ahead and assume that at this point you have worked with double pointed needles and that you know how to knit and purl in the round. If you do not, please go to the playlist on, if you're watching later on YouTube, you can look on the Ask Me Monday playlist. If you're watching on Facebook, just click on videos and you'll see the playlist there. And you can find double pointed needles, you can find knitting in the round, you can find knitting in the round with 2 circulars if double points aren't your jam, whatevs. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that you know how to do this. I've worked the whole leg. You can work it, you cast on your stitches, you work in the round for as long as you want. If you're doing an anklet, it would just probably be a scotch. If you could do a knee high, you do you. Then what you're going to want to do is work a heel. I prefer the square, and it's sometimes I think called the Dutch method of heel making. And what that means is you work the heel, which is just half of the stitches. Again, this is all on my website. Half of the stitches you work flat and not in the round. And all you need to know, you don't even need to do the math for this. All you need to do, and Valerie's saying she gets stuck at the heel. I got you, girl. All you need to do is work the stitch. I like to do a really sort of like thick heel so that it won't wear down, which means knit one, slip one all the way across on the right side and purl back. Again, on my website. But then you just keep going until it's square. So you don't even have to do the math there. I do tell you how to do the math on my website, but all you have to do is keep knitting until it's square. And you can tell it's square by folding it down at the corner. And when the 2 edges match up, you know you're done. And you want to end with the wrong side. And that's all there is to it, right? So simple. Okay, so that gets us to the part where we need to create the little cup for for our heel, right? We're not two-dimensional beings, so we need to have some shaping, which means I need to make this flat piece go like this. And how we do that is through some very simple short row shaping. I'm going to show you how I did it here. Again, I talk math and give you the instructions at VickieHowell.com. All right, I am going to flip around. Before, I see some people are asking about beginners. You can always, there are sock patterns out there that you can knit flat if you'd like, but I do have a class on Creative Live that walks you through. It handholds from every step, from casting on stitches all the way to the end of the toe. If you really feel like you want a more intensive or more hand-holding experience, you can go to my website, Vickie Howell, click on classes, and you'll see that as well. Okay, for real now, I'm going to flip the camera around. All right, so you got an unfortunate shot of me close. And we're set up. Okay, so the only thing that you need to know if you don't have a pattern and you're just going rogue, as I am one to do, is that on your right side, you need to work 2/3 of your stitches to start this. So I have 12 stitches here. The first stitch on every row, I'm always going to slip, and that's because it makes it really much easier to pick up your stitches around the side, which will be due later for the foot. And also my Creative Live video is like, I think it might be 9 parts. It breaks it down really, really simply. Okay, so I'm slipping the first stitch, and then I'm going to work, and I'm just working this in stockinette, so knitting 8 more, so for a total of 9. Now, because this is a wee sock, that's going to be most of the row, but it won't, it won't always be like that if you're working on a big one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you want to work the next 2, just dropped it, next 2 stitches together, and that on the right side, that means doing a SSK, which is slip 1 knitwise, slip 2 knitwise, knit them together through the back loop. Then we're going to turn. That decrease right there and turning midway is what's going to create your gap, and I'll show you why you'll need that on the way back. Okay, so on the wrong side, again, the first stitch of every row we slip, and that's going to help us later. Then we're going to purl 1/3 of the way back. 2, 3, 4. So for us, that would be 4. Again, this is all explained on my website, VickieHowell.com. Then we're going to work the next 2 stitches together. On this side, the wrong side, we're going to purl 2 together, and then we turn again. All right, so now I'm on the right side, and this is the part that you're going to just keep repeating. You're going to slip a stitch, and you're going to work until you get to 1 stitch before the gap. Remember I was telling you about that gap earlier? Whoops. Yep. Okay, and then you're going to knit those 2 stitches together, and that joins the gap. Now normally you would not be done with stitches then, but because this is so small, it worked out that way. And then you're going to turn, slip 1 again. Oops, make sure that your yarn's in front. We're purling. And then you want to purl to the gap. Okay, so we're at the gap right here, so we know that we're there. We want to purl those 2 together and then turn. And then you would just repeat that again. Now this one's the end, so you're not going to do it, but you'll knit the stitches to the stitch before the gap, work those 2 together, turn, and you'll do that until all of your stitches are worked, and you'll get a little cut that looks like this. And the yarn that I'm working with right now is Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It's called Craggy, and it's a little tweed that I really enjoy. It's a sport weight. Okay. So now your heel is, you can see, oriented the other way. So then what you're going to do is you're going to pick up stitches. You're going to split the heel stitches up into half, and then you're going to put half of them on your first needle, needle 1, and then you pick up stitches evenly across these loops, and I've already done that. I'll show you on the second side. Then on needle 2, you place all of the other stitches that were on hold while you were working your heel stitches. This is going to be your instep, or the top of your foot. That's needle 2. Then needle 3, actually I should have had these on hold. I'm just going to put them on hold on this needle right now just to make it easier for me. So these stitches would probably be on a holder or a waste yarn right now, but I'm just going to stick them on that needle. So now what we need to do is we need to pick up the stitches on the second side, and I wanted to show that to you really quick. Now see how these loops are really clear to see? That's why we slit the stitches. Because those were slipped, it's really clearly marked where you're going to pick up those stitches. And to do that, you'll see the stitch, if you look at it from the top, you can see that little upside down raindrop. I take the front loop of that, where's my yarn, and just pull it through. And you're going to do that for as many times as the pattern calls for, or whatever number you got from your math, or frankly, you just want to make sure that you've done the same amount on both sides of your heel and that it's even. And then once you get to your second half of your stitches, you want to knit. I don't know why I'm suddenly knitting with my left hand. I usually knit with my right, but let's just go with it. Knit those last three stitches, and you are completely set up. And from here, you'll work your decreases, which I have written on my website, vickiehowell.com. The goal from getting here to the foot is to start decreasing now to the same amount of stitches that you had to cast on. So no matter how many stitches, if you're making a wee baby sock like I am, or if you're making a ginormous man sock, the formula is still the same. Whatever number of stitches you cast on with is the number of stitches that you want to do the decreases to get back to for the foot. So you'll work the decreases as I show on my website, vickiehowell.com. And then once you get done with those, you get back to the stitches. I think I originally cast on 24 stitches, so back to that. Then you will just work the foot for as long as you want the foot minus 2.5 inches. The last 2.5 inches are going to be the toe decreases. Okay, so the toe decreases, again, it's just SSKs and knit 2 togethers. There's nothing new to see there. So what I thought I would focus on, and this is obviously just a toe, is grafting together and Kitchener stitch. You all ready? Kitchener stitch. Okay, so you want to split up your stitches, and again, you're going to decrease as the pattern calls for. If you're doing the math yourself, I say get down to about 1/3 of your stitches, and you can kind of eye it. It depends on how pointy you want your toe, but about 1/3 of your stitches is usually a good idea. 2, 4, 6, yeah. Okay, so actually, I went down to half for this one, so it kind of just depends on how, because if I went down to 1/3 for this, there would have been like nothing to show you. So you kind of just have to go with your gut. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is set up. All right, to set up your row, you're going to insert the first stitch with your tap. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have said this is I left a long tail and I just threaded it through my tapestry needle. This is also, I like this kind from Knitter's Pride because it doesn't matter the weight of yarn that can go through, and it's also great if you're working with beads, with big beads. Okay, so you work in purlwise, and you string that through, but you do not let it fall off the needle. Then you're going to go in the back, and you're going to insert this in the stitch knitwise, the first one knitwise on the back. All right, that's the only time you'll ever have to do that way. That just gets you established. Now we're going to do the opposite, and from now on, this is how we're going to roll. We're going to insert knitwise on our front needle. We're going to let that stitch drop off. Then we're going to insert purlwise in the next stitch. but leaving it on. Then we want to insert the stitch purlwise into the back stitch, or excuse me, the back needle, the first stitch on the back needle, let it fall off and not get caught on your sock. And then in the second stitch on the back needle, we want to insert it knitwise, not letting it fall off. So those last 4 steps that just got caught on my needle, let me pull that, are what you're going to repeat again and again. So we insert our tapestry needle through the first stitch on the front needle, let it drop off, pull through. We then insert our needle into the second stitch on the front, purlwise, and pull through. Then we move to our back. We insert our stitch purlwise on the back needle, let it fall off, and then we insert our tapestry needle knitwise on the back needle, leaving it on. And you can see that forming together, and you will just do that until you don't have any stitches left, and then you would just feed your needle through the top of your toe and then weave the stitches in. And that is all there is to it. It's not that hard. I know people can get intimidated. I know I was. Did I tell you guys last time we put a little WD-40 on my tripod, and so now it falls. So talk amongst yourselves while I fix it. It seems complicated, but once you figure out that there's a model for something, then it kind of makes sense. And I hope that my tutorial will hold your hand a little bit during the process. It's fun. I suggest starting with a baby size sock. I like little wins. You guys know that. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily dive right into a sock for a 6-foot man. You know, start with a little one, with the wee baby one. I have a garter stitch version in my book, Wee Garter Stitch. I might have a stockinette stitch one on my website, but I also have adult socks in Step It Up knits, Aware knits, and then of course my class on Creative Live. If you are like, oh, that's nice, but I really prefer to learn how to knit my socks upwards from the toe up, please check out the Knit Show, the first episode. It's 101, the Trends episode, for a tutorial on that. There's also a free pattern on thenitshow.com for socks that are made, anklet socks that are made from the toe up. So we've got you from both sides. All right. Thank you for hanging out with me. I think it is time to talk giveaways. First, though, if any of you are interested in learning more about the World War I effort, circular needles from 100 years ago, please check out, there's a great website called Atlas Obscura, and that's where I found a lot of my information from. Really interesting stuff, great pictures, all kinds of goodness. I love history. There was a great article I posted on my Facebook page yesterday that was about knitting espionage, how women would knit messages for spies during that time, during World War II, I believe. Really amazing stuff. All right, so now it's time. It's time to enter to win one of 2 prize packs. So either the Knitter's Pride Pink Waves crochet hook with lace blockers, or the Marbles interchangeable circular set and DPN set. What you need to do to enter to win is, in the comment section, please write, first of all, knitting or crochet, but then you'll need to tell us one of 2 things. Either what has been your favorite topic or favorite episode of the Knit Show over the past 100 episodes, or what is your favorite Knitter's Pride Knit Pro product. Either one. We just want to know what you're into so that we can bring you more of that stuff. We really appreciate the generosity of Knitter's Pride, so shout outs to them. On a personal note, he'll never ever watch this, but I just want to say happy 40th to my baby brother, Kevin Montoya. I love you. I'm so proud of you. That's all we have today. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for continuing. And here is to another 100 episodes. If you know anybody that is interested in this topic, please share this video. It really helps me. I've got all kinds of big things cooking, and anytime that my community is involved, it helps me make those things happen. All right, I'll see you for the next 100. Back here next week at noon on Facebook. Have a great rest of your week.